Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Spotlight, brought to you by the Georgetown, South Carolina NAACP branch number 5520. And it's a little bit blurry, and it's supposed to be, but just want to let you know I'm coming from a hotel lobby because I'm traveling. But my regular co hosts, they're getting ready to hop on, and let's make this happen. We've got a lot to talk about today: the Georgetown County Comprehensive Plan Survey, the redistricting. What is the other thing? Access Alliance Insurance Group grand reopening because we always want to support our members. And there was one more. Oh, guess where I'm at? We gonna get into this, folks. All right, I'm in Brunswick, Georgia, coming to you, but we'll see you with our co-host right after this.
Heavenly Father, we ask you to put a hand of protection.
Welcome back, everyone. My name's Marilyn Hemming, and the other topic that I couldn't remember that we're going to be talking about today, January 6th insurrection. We just observed 1 year later. It's strange saying anniversary because you usually celebrate an anniversary, but we need to talk about that insurrection and what it means regarding our democracy moving forward. Thanks for joining us today. And let's go ahead and get started. With me right now, and the others are going to join us, is our president, Marvin Neal, who is doing the business of president. You've been on a very important meeting already this morning, Marvin.
Two.
Oh, you got me beat this morning. You got me
Two
beat
very
this
important
morning.
meetings.
I'm traveling your meeting today. Never. Actually, I have two more meetings this afternoon, so I'll try to catch up with you this afternoon.
I got one more this afternoon. So.
You got one more? All right. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not going to catch up with you today, so I'm not even going to try. What I really want to get into right now is let's go ahead and talk about the Georgetown County Comprehensive Plan Survey and why it's so important that we need to participate in that survey. Right now, I had a meeting this week with I believe you did also, Marvin, with the Planning Commission staff, the head of the staff, and we're roughly right now at 1,400 surveys completed, and out of that 1,400, 70% are off the Waccamaw Neck. So it's not very balanced and reflective of the entire county. And I know the county staff, the county planning commission has been greatly concerned about that. And we are here today to encourage folks. We got to complete that survey. And why do we need to complete that survey, Marvin? Any thoughts on that while I pull up the website so people can see it?
Well, one thing, Marilyn, this plan is what lays out the future of your communities and stuff, and getting input from each one of these communities is crucial. A lot of times we run from the back end trying to figure out, we always chasing something, most of the time the rural and communities without access to website and stuff of that nature that don't attend meetings. And that's that voice just not heard and stuff out of the media sources and stuff. But this plans out your community and stuff, what it would look like from recreation to everything else, roads. I mean, you name it, anything that has to do with the tax base of Georgetown County. If you pay taxes, you definitely need to be involved and fill out this plan and stuff. A lot of things you see coming in your community, a lot of times we say, well, I didn't know that. Well, right now, this gives you an opportunity to say, be a part of the future plan of your community, because this is a challenge right now, especially with redistricting and everything else. All these plays a major role in how the population could shift and what that means to you and stuff, and how the dollars shift also with the population from culture to economics to housing and all these types of things, zoning. All this plays a major role the next 10 to 20 years. How you control growth within the county itself, and how that plays into your community, whether you can really be gentrified by just ignoring the survey. Your community can be, because What this does is give county council and the planning commission and those and just a spotlight on what the community is really saying. You know, what they're saying, what they want, what they don't want. So say what you want, even if you don't know what you, if you know what you don't want, leave it alone. Say what you want, okay? And that tells a story within itself.
It does. And exactly what you just said, the very first paragraph, let me make note of something very important in this very first paragraph. It considers the area's existing conditions, future goals, and a general vision for what future growth and development within the county would look like over the next 10 to 20 years. They are required, counties are required to update their comprehensive plans every 10 years. So, they're in the middle of doing it now, but it's important to note 10 to 20 years. What we do now, how we are engaged right now, will impact for the next 10 to 20 years.
And
And so if you don't speak out now, you may never get another chance again, or things may happen and you're just not part of what's going on, the growth, development, but also you're not part of the solution to any challenges that our community faces. It's vital that we get informed. Go ahead, Marvin.
and especially Melon, when we are looking at right now all of the growth coming off the Walkmore Neck and coming into the other areas like the west end of Georgetown, Maryville, Plantersville, pretty much headed this way also. What this does, it lays out that zoning criteria. You know what I'm saying? The adjustment in areas in zoning, especially from commercial to uh, uh, farming and agriculture and all those type of zoning criteria and stuff. How that looks in your community. Do you want the face of your community change? And this plays a major role in the planning commission. You know, the last comprehensive plan I was a part of putting that together. The last land use element and stuff for the comprehensive plan and stuff for Georgetown. I was in the zoning commission at the time and the zoning appeals board. And what you have to look for once they approve that, there goes to county council. But it's important that you have your ears and sit in the county council and voice your concern because that plan, the key is get to the planning commission and fill out the survey before they make a decision for you. Really a recommendation for you because they don't make the decision. They recommend to council. Council makes the final decision. But your voice must be heard through your planning commission in your area and make sure it's heard through your county council person. Because this is crucial to the growth of your area. You know, and there's other zoning criteria and all that could be changed within these plans also. You know, we speak some of inclusionary zoning and stuff, which is huge because we keep checking the box for affordable housing. But one thing we need to be inclusive in that. You know, when zoning comes to your area, not zoning, but when housing comes to your area, there's a package there where affordable housing could be a part of that package. And that's one way to control the growth in your area where it looks like you also, not just like those who's trying to infiltrate. So
Yeah, with the comprehensive plan, I'm showing the section where it says participate in our survey, and they indicate that the deadline is December 20th. That has been extended to January 20th. January 20th, y'all. So when you go to the link that we have scrolling at the bottom of the screen, it's going to say December 20th. No, it's more accurately January 20th. That's why we're still talking about it. And Harley Richardson, the planning staff, the head of the planning staff, is going to be with us next weekend for a few minutes to give us for an opportunity to answer questions. So if you live in Georgetown County, South Carolina, or you work in Georgetown County, South Carolina, we want to hear from you about our future growth and development. Let's get this done, folks. Thank you, Marvin. And we might have a question here, comments. Oh, we got a happy new year from Aretha McCutcheon. Thank you, Aretha, for that happy new year. All right, everybody, we've got that scrolling at the bottom of the screen, and we'll keep that scrolling later in the show. What we have coming up next, we talked about briefly. We could get into it, but it made national news. It's been in the national news for quite a while now, but I'm physically in Brunswick, Georgia on a business trip, and where I was meeting, I had to pass the courthouse every day, and of course I saw the news trucks and everything outside waiting for the sentencing of the three men who were convicted of the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. And just passing by, Marvin, I wanted to stop and just kind of just honor the family and
You
just
know,
be a part of that and show support. But I'm telling you, man, it's interesting times. Go ahead, Marvin.
but if you look at the last three sentencing for murder trials for just the mistreatment of black people and especially black men being shot to death and murdered by in senseless killing, of just hateful people. You know what I'm saying? Just hateful people. And these three tried to justify it. And the end result, Maryland, of all these judges that was appointed by President Trump and presidents prior, I think people is really getting a whiff of. They're getting tired of all people, whites, black, everybody's getting tired of it. Because if you look at the jury of all the last three sentences, you might have a total of what, 4 blacks inclusive in all three of the last juries, and it tells a story that they're getting the maximum sentences, even when sometimes we are sitting on the edge of our seat hoping they get one. Now they're getting all three of them. You see what I'm saying? And they got
Yeah,
all three of those men got life sentence,
yeah.
father and son, and that's huge. It sends a strong message that enough is enough. And it's just crazy, senseless killing. It's like trying to replace, a time when that was okay. The Emmett Till situation and stuff of that nature. All those things were okay just to kill a black man. You know, it's sad that we're still living in a society where we're still fighting against that. And it takes so much to make it happen. When you have attorneys sitting in the courtroom saying they don't want preachers in the courtroom to support the family, you know, how unconsiderate that they are and stuff. Just no regards to the family. Whatever it takes, to white skin don't always mean right, you know, and that make just look at just this week, Maryland, with I know you're gonna segue into it and stuff. The January 6th insurrection, where this one white lady flew in on her jet to D.C. because she's a millionaire, and put it on Facebook. Her white skin and all this other stuff will get her off because she is white. But that judge sent her a strong message. A strong message. She got 2 months in jail for a misdemeanor. You see what
And
I'm saying?
honestly, I think it should be more than that. But I do want to bring attention to the judge in this Ahmaud Arbery case was
Correct.
very fair and balanced and understood justice. And I could only wonder if we had such a type of judge in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. This judge made note of what you just said, Marvin, regarding the makeup of the juries. The jury in this Ahmaud Arbery trial had one black,
Yeah.
one black. And you're right, it is probably about four total, and the ones that were, I think, had a better outcome
Right.
in the tragic injustice. Um, but he spoke upon that at the beginning, and basically it's something you couldn't prove it, but he said it was clear that the jury makeup was influenced by striking of black jurors because of race,
You know,
because they assumed it was going to go, it was in favor of the defendants. And I think you're right, people are tired, it's so obvious. And I had an opportunity to speak to a resident, because who I was meeting with, and he was saying he feels, and he's a white gentleman, who said there's a difference. He said it's not where it should be, but it woke up a lot of people
yeah,
in this area of Brunswick, Georgia, and I hope nationally. I think maybe, Marvin, that people are waking up, and it's sad to say, 50 years ago, 56 years ago, during at towards the end of that period civil rights movement, and it was towards the end of that civil rights movement, that we thought we had come such a long way, and we're still dealing with some of these things that we thought that had been dealt with, which goes to show that it really, we could pass laws, but we don't necessarily change hearts and minds.
And laws, it's manipulated so much. There's so much room for manipulation. But one thing, when that judge set the tone, he made sure that the jury understood that you have to be fair and balanced, and you need to camouflage your eyeballs. You have to look at this Ahmaud Arbery as a human, not 3/5 of a human, because going into the courtroom and a lot of those other hearings, that's what you pretty much heard. When they're talking about Ahmaud Arbery's, his toes was dirty, his toenails and stuff of that nature. Just dehumanizing him for the sake of getting 3 white men off from killing a black man. It's pathetic. But I'm so glad that judges now, no matter who appoint them, are making strong presence in those courtrooms. In the last trial, the judge had to shut down the defense attorney because of what he was saying, about pastors and all this other stuff. He had to shut him down. It's to do that in a courtroom, brought the racist tone within the trial. Like there's a right to be racist even when the law says this is what happened. You know what I'm saying?
I think what Mr. Neal said was powerful. I think Mr. Neal said that. He said the word dehumanize. It doesn't matter. At one time, Black people were not even considered human beings. They were just cargo coming over to the Americas. They were treated like property, and this same undertone of dehumanizing people, all so that they can have this sense and feel of superiority. I really, it's not that I don't have anything to say about it. It's just that I just feel so emotional about it. And it's just hard to even have the words to describe how they dehumanize people. They dehumanize Black people. They dehumanize other people who actually trying to come into this country for refuge. But I'll just turn it back over to you all.
No, Ebony, I think that's fair to say. I think that's fair to say in this moment. And one thing I do want to just briefly point out is, if it was not for that video, we would not be having this conversation. And the arrogance of Brian, that was the gentleman's last name, to take that video and honestly did not expect any consequences, because he knew that this justice system was going to protect him in 98% of the time. And in this instance, it did not. But I also think how close we never got to see that video, not because only did they hide it, but someone did not erase it. Because many times people simply go erase it and just say, oh, we lost it or something. It got erased. It would have never been seen. Somebody, not only did they hide it, but somebody knew this video needed to stay available and was going to come out eventually. So whoever that unknown person is, we need to thank that unknown person also, because somebody saved that video.
And Marilyn, think about the who was the not the district attorney, was the state prosecutor. They had to relieve her in the case from the start because of
they
covering
arrested
up.
her too.
They arrested her for covering up information from the start, and that's what you have a lot still going right here, and it's still going on. I'm looking at a case right now in Conway with the Paul Mishu case that's fixing to roll up into the courtroom. That case is huge, and we need to pay attention. And I'm going for they're being right now, their depositions are being taken right now and stuff. Starting next week. In that case. But check out what happened. The killer came out of a restaurant in Conway, Wings, right there across from Walmart, shot this young black man in the neck, getting in his car. No altercation whatsoever. Leaving the restaurant. I mean, you shot him in the neck, and he's sitting up in Greenville right now with his girlfriend. You know,
Well,
no ankle bracelets, no monitor, no nothing. No nothing.
yes,
Shot him,
sir.
he killed him dead. Young, progressive black man, smart young man. Family, I mean, school teachers, nurses, I know them. Right out of the
Mr.
bus,
Neal,
Rodney knows.
it's really sad because, you know, it's amazing how people can play two sides of the fence. And good morning, Miss Kidd. Good morning. Matter of fact, my daughter just hopped on the phone just now. She says good morning also, all the way from Wiesbaden, Germany. She says hello, everybody.
That's huge.
um,
Tell her we say hello.
That's our international audience.
Yeah, my classmate is sitting up in London. She shout out hello. And my
Oh,
brother's over
it's
there
true.
also.
See? And we're spreading globally.
Yeah. In Italy, I
Germany and
believe.
England.
In Italy. In Italy.
Go
Phyllis
ahead, Ebony.
Jackson.
but it's amazing how some people can play both sides of the fence. I think that in the Ahmaud Arbery murder trial, actually that video was not withheld. That Brian actually gave the video to the police because he thought that would actually be a way of getting them off. He used some laws that are in place, just like now there are laws that are in place that make it really difficult for people. Things that are actually legal that should not be legal in the terms of ethics, in my opinion. He turned that in because they thought they made a legal citizen's arrest. I want you to think about that. Okay, it's even down to in South Carolina, and all states are not the same way in how they consider self-defense. Just like Rittenhouse got off because they were able to somehow convince the jury that he was in the right, according to the law, that he was protecting himself.
Yeah,
And
self-defense. Yeah.
self-defense, even down to our gun laws that you have the castle law, which and even too, when you carry a concealed weapons permit, the law says, that's why I encourage people to just take a class, even if you don't think that you're going to carry a gun, so you can understand the law. But in South Carolina and some other reciprocal states, when you shoot somebody, they want you to shoot that person until they are no longer a threat. And what does that mean legally? That means shoot them until they are dead. So there are people that actually get the law, they look at it and figure out a way to kill people, murder people legally. And it's no more different than if you reach back, at one point it was legal to hunt Black people. Sometimes it seems like racism never really changes. It just transforms and it comes out in a completely different way. And sometimes I feel like these gun laws are geared toward legalizing hunting and killing people. The same way how what's his face over in Florida killed Trayvon Martin.
Zimmerman.
He got off because he was able to prove this whole stand your ground law was okay for him to use at that time to defend a neighborhood from a kid that wasn't doing anything other than just trying to get to his home. So we need to really take a look at not only the fabrics, like Ms. Marilyn said, the fabrics of our Constitution and how they influence the laws that either are created or not created. Because it's amazing how in South Carolina we still don't have a hate crime bill, but yet they passing gun laws and open carry, making it easier for people to kill others.
And that's go ahead, Marilyn.
Well, those laws are passed to do exactly what Ebony said. It's I totally agree with you, Ebony, and thank you for the nuance regarding the Ahmaud Berry, the video. And I totally agree with you. And that's what we have to accept. As a society, we look the other way. We don't accept that. That is why they passed those laws. Just as we speak in coded language, we code switch. Those laws are written. They cannot speak the quiet parts out loud. But that's why they passed those laws, to do exactly what is going on. And it's nuanced, but they know that's like when um the um the Republican strategist Lee, you know who I'm talking about, Lee Atkins, Lee, you know who I'm talking about. He worked for Bush, and he said we can't say the N word anymore, but we can say busing, we can say welfare queens, we can say all these coded words. And that's how they ran and they won, and that's how they base their laws. They know exactly what they're doing, and this is where has engaged citizens. We have to call it out. We have to call the quiet part out, because if we don't, they won't change. It will not change. And they know exactly what they're doing. Go ahead, Marvin. I just wanted to point that out.
But Marilyn, that's the importance of why the NAACP exists in so many ways, because the quiet part is what we call out, and it's necessary to call it out. I'm not always comfortable, but it's always, to do the right thing, you have to make decisions. You know what I'm saying? And the decisions that you make have to be for the cause. It can't be for nothing else but the cause. Not for politics, nothing but the cause. Because if you don't call it out, it will grow into the standard of how we live. Now, you're talking about the law and why it exists, like Ebony was talking about, the gun laws and all that. And it goes right back to after the Emancipation Proclamation. When they found out that black people supposed to be free, then here comes the Klansmen, the policemen, and all. All that was designed to continue to kill black people. But how as things comes forward, as things come forward and technology came with it, now all these things are visible to the public now. The unhumane side of people. It all boils back down to, Maryland, right? Even into critical race theory. If someone don't want to hear their history, it might, if it's that bad, they really need to check themselves. Because we need to talk about our history. And like Ebony said, we need to tell our story every day to our children so they'll understand that laws are designed to control black people more than anything else. Oppress from economics, even union, right to work state, at will state, all that stuff.
Right. That is so true. And one day I really do hope that we can have a further conversation on the show about immigration and people coming into this country. There's a nuance there because, again, it's all about control and superiority. Anyway, there's so much I can say about that, but I'm very happy with the decision of the courts when it comes down to the Ahmaud Arbery case. Hold on, what's this person say? Y'all can't change anyone. That Jesus job. Republicans will never lose a battle.
That's earthly, And the thing is about that, it's if just the word Jesus within the contents there speaks volume. Jesus fought against the injustice of humans and mankind. That's why he couldn't stay in one place, because he was preaching a righteous thing to do and how people should be treated. It haven't just started. It's just the existence of human beings since we existed. It's treatment of people, especially people of color, from indentured servants. When someone could take you and use you and dehumanize you to the point where you don't even know that you had your own value, you became their economic asset. And when you came out of it, hey, you're still struggling for reparation and everything else. But every other country that we have done some damage to, and every other race that we have done some damage to, reparation were paid, except for us. So it's that continuance, and they understand what we do. They understand why we're here, because of how we think. how we invent things, the way our mind continues to roll. It's our value, but we have to understand what our value are and utilize it for our own economic gain. That's important, because when I look at Ebony and Maryland here, these are entrepreneurs I'm talking to. Jackie Williams, they're entrepreneurs. Deontay, entrepreneurs. If anyone wants to know, ask them, because they'll tell you their story.
Yes, that is so true. And you hit on a really good point about value. You can only value is placed on what, it's equity, it's money, it's whatever value you want to place on it. But you can even look at now how everything's so interconnected and what we're talking about. Now, granted, we started off talking about the
killing,
decision of the killing, right?
Yeah.
Now we're talking about the value of people. So at first it was the value of what enslaved people meant to the owners and what that person could generate. But let's move that over to what we're experiencing now and how so many large corporations are upset now because they have to pay their people more. In the grand scheme of things, when their services or products cost a certain amount and you kind of throw peanuts, and in my mind, $7.50 an hour, $10 an hour, even $15 an hour, that's the value that you're placing on the people that you employ, and when in actuality, $15 is just a compromise. I think they said, what is it now? Minimum wage for inflation should actually be about 20 something dollars.
22.
$22 per hour. So now, when you really look at the perspective of things, the value that they place on people is below average. That means that we don't care about people. We don't care about their health care. We don't care about the environment. We don't care about their social, status. We don't care about all those things that make a person whole, because of large corporations and where they place the value on people. They bring all these industries to the lower income places, that has an effect on people, and they don't give back into those communities at all.
I want, well, go ahead, Marvin, because I wanted to say something. It's going to change the conversation slightly, but still connected. Because I believe in threads. I talk about threads in history all the time. And going back to the comment that I posted, y'all can't change anyone, and that's Jesus' job. Republicans will never lose a battle. I respectfully disagree with that.
Totally.
And it's not about changing people. What we can change are the laws. We can change the future, and we can hold people accountable, and we could change our elected officials. That's why we have voting. If you don't like what your elected official does, you could do two things. You could vote them out, and you could run for office yourself. What I believe is God gave us free choice, and God gave us free will, and God gave us brains. And we can use those brains to change the systems that oppress us. And I want to give an example of what I'm talking about and what we're talking about. This whole show and the discussion that has evolved. Ebony, thanks for noting that it has evolved into this discussion. We lost a giant this week, Sidney Poitier. And I want you to look at this picture
Yes.
of Barack Obama honoring this man, Sidney Poitier. And this is bigger than just this moment, receiving this medal of honor, this medal of freedom. I also want you to look at this letter that was signed by Harry Belafonte, Jackie Robinson, and Sidney Poitier. What this letter represents is a program that was personally financed by these three giants, Harry Belafonte, Jackie Robinson, and Sidney Poitier. And this program that they personally financed raised funds for African students from the country of Kenya to come to America for college education. They brought over 81 Kenyan students.
Wow.
One of those Kenyan students was Barack Obama's father.
Wow. Whew.
Huge.
Barack Obama's father came to the United States and met is it Sarah Dunham, Miss Dunham, and they married and had Barack Obama.
Wow.
And years later, Barack Obama got educated, became a community organizer in Black communities, became a state senator, the United States senator, and then ran for president and won, and had the honor of awarding this man
Wow.
one
Woo.
of the highest civilian honors. It makes you wonder, did he realize? I'm sure they did, because they do research and stuff, y'all. So I am sure they knew at this time the significance of that thread.
Yes,
Marilyn, that is so deep.
it is. You
So
know,
don't tell me we can't change.
that gave me goosebumps because I didn't want to take over your show because this is.
Woo! Go ahead.
But that's why I mentioned earlier. That's why we really need to rethink how we look at immigration. We need to rethink all of this because there is good so long as we do it the right way. And look at a giant, a man that we lost this week at 94 years old. And I saw that letter was written in 1959. Do you know how huge that was? It's huge now, but even bigger back then. That was before integration. Could you imagine? They really took a risk on their lives and bringing those Kenyans over here, to do that. But look at the investment. And when I say great companies like this, you got some independent giants that did it privately. But can you imagine if corporations invested in their community and see the value of people and give back what that can produce? But the problem is we're so looking for instantaneous change that
So true.
That it takes time. Even the Bible says the truth shall what? It doesn't say shall set you free. It says shall make you free. And when you're making something, you can't make a cake, even a cake instantaneously. You got to whip them eggs and that flour and sugar and everything up and put it inside the oven for at least 30 minutes or more before you can even get a cake. So we have to start increasing the value like giants and humanitarians like Mr. Sidney Poitier and translate that over to what we're doing now. That's awesome. Thank you, Marilyn.
But Marilyn, not only that too, if you just look at that picture, there is so much in it. Here he is honoring the man that paved the way for him. That thread you talked about to get here, paved the way for him to get here through his father. And I met him in Chicago, Memorial Day. I think it was 2 or 3 years before he ran for president. He was the state senator there. My brother introduced me to it, Sherman. And he said, man, he'll be a president one day. He said, no, I won't. Beating the streets of Chicago. Just huge. You can't touch that. And here he is a second term, and just the fight that he went through for the second term. You know what I'm saying? You can't stop that. And you talking about Republican and Jesus in the same sentence? Because only God could do that. Only Jesus could do that. Jesus paid the way for all of this to happen for us now, but for those who believe. All that other stuff, but what Republicans and Democrats and all that, none of that stuff can do nothing for you. You have to be able to know your brand and how you tie into that thread. That quilt that they put on the wall, you are somewhere in there. From the bedrocks of Africa, Bethlehem, of Egypt, Ethiopia, that's where you coming in from. Everybody came in from there. You got to know where your lane is at. And see, when you try to step in somebody else's lane and try to drive and you're on the opposite side of the road, you're going to have a head-on collision. Stay in your lane. It's all right. Because Sidney Poitier, Harry Belafonte, this was signed in 1959, Maryland. I was born in 1959.
Wow.
That's not funny happening. You don't say, wow. I know I'm old. But, hey, we got to tell our story. Just think about it. the young lady that's on there right now, John DeRay, you know, and her husband, you know, just think about that, brother. It's all right here. That, right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's sitting right there in our face and stuff. But we have to tell our story. And it goes back to what we're doing right now, just working with the school district. You know, trying to get that esteem back into our children, all children, black and white. But a part of the population do not want black and white students to communicate that historical value that's left out there, their story. Because everybody have a story, and everybody needs to tell their story, but tell the truth. Tell the truth so we can move on as a nation. The problem is people want to say what they want things to look like that don't look that way, and want to say how things used to be, and it wasn't like that. Don't say it was a beautiful day in America. It wasn't a beautiful day in America, and Michelle Obama said it. I don't like what I see right now. And she said it. Yeah, she said it. She needed that to say it.
Right. You know, and another thing, Mr. Neal, you mentioned a really good point. I want people to tell the truth, but I also want people to tell the truth in respect. And when I say that, a lot of this has to do with perspective. Imagine the enslaved people, you know, somebody writing a history book. Oh, it was a great day in America. Well, I'm pretty sure it was great for them. Not when you got free labor outside in the cold, the heat, this, that, and the third. It was a great day for you. So long as you felt like you were on top. Who was it a great day for?
Yeah. Then you get a U.S. congressman, Tom Rice. Tom Rice, just last year at the Howard Center, and people need to know that name. Tom Rice stood up in the auditorium and said $7.25 an hour was great. Minimum wage. This is someone that's supposed to be representing you. No one, white, black, or anyone shouldn't want him nowhere, or anyone with that mindset.
No,
that's why these businesses are shut down. They're shut down for that reason. That's why a lot of them still closing their doors. Can't find enough workers. Because those that's paying the $14, $15, $20 an hour now, that's where they're headed. You know, it shows Tom Rice how ignorant he is, and it takes pressure to break pipes every time. So as we sit out this economic barrier that we are dealing with right now, people need to make sure they understand that they are made for more than $7.25 an hour. The bottom line. And every time they see Tom Rice, they need to tell him that you should have never made that statement, and you don't need to be anyone representative. And you can tell them that Marvin Neal said you said that, because I was sitting there. The bottom line. I sat by him at the John Rainey Day.
Yes.
You know.
He made a comment then that I didn't care for about the Republican and Joseph Rainey. You know, I'm like, seriously. And that's another thing I don't like, how some people will create their own narrative. They will get what's true and flip it around. That's not cool at all. And Brandon, Mr. Britton here is so right.
Yeah, Brandon is strong. And the thing is about that,
he needed a urine test.
Around, you know, talking about what he wanted to really say, that John Rainey was a black Republican. No, John Rainey was a black man that ran as a Republican because that was our strength at the time.
Right.
And the Republican Party was much more diverse and much more liberal.
Right.
Than it
there
is
were a liberal party.
Much more progressive.
Yeah, the Dixiecrat came in with the hate and all this other stuff after the Emancipation Proclamation. But the thing is, what he wanted to say, you know, it totally worked backwards. Now, he could talk with John Rainey when he was a Republican, what he really wanted to say. But he didn't say that John Rainey couldn't even sit in the same room at the same table to eat with them when he was in Congress.
That part.
Couldn't even sit at the table with them. Tell them to tell the whole story.
Right.
That's the problem. You know, want to sit and admonish something that we have to force our way into, the NAACP, you know, making sure that they understand you will not have a day in Georgetown and not recognize where we came from.
But you know what? It's all about, again, superiority and them getting the limelight for things. He never knew Mr. Joseph Rainey. He never knew him. You know,
he said he didn't even know who he was
until
Jim Clyburn brought it to the floor.
Right. And not only that, I want to say this. They came out there in one hand with the rededication of the post office and a plaque in one hand, and in another hand, all the things that Mr. Joseph A. Rainey stood for, like for voters' rights, for African Americans, for other things that help African Americans. The Republicans are, and many people in place, actually creating new laws right now, trying to prevent, trying to prevent all the things that he did to help Black people, to try to tear them down, all in the same hand. So how are you going to help on one hand, or say you're honoring somebody on one end and then you're on the back end trying to tear it down? They need to pick what side of the fence they want to be on and say what they mean, say who they are, and be who they are, instead of doing all kind of underhanded things in the background.
Well, because they want to be the oppressor. Things begin to turn another cheek now. They want to be the oppressor that they were at that time when Joseph Rainey was doing all these things. You know, it's amazing. You know, now they want to be the oppressor again, which it never changed. You know, it never changed. But what's happening now, the color barrier is changing. America is becoming this brown place to live. It's going to be no longer black and white. It's going to be just brown people in America. You're going to get to the point where they just say American, not black, white, Jews, Gentile, or whatever. They're going to say Americans. That's where it's going to get to. And that's their fear. That's why all the laws are changing, voting rights and all this other stuff. Want to make, Asians now identify as white people, all kind of foolishness. Want to take someone's identity, want to buy Greenwood, President Trump, racist.
Well, I want to say this. From the beginning of this show up until now, we've talked about a number of different things. Again, it really is all together. But I want to actually say something that me and Marilyn and some other people have had conversations about this. I believe we are witnessing the crumble of America. This is the beginning, or the infancy stage, of a dying country. America, we always feared all these other countries. Oh, you fear this country, you fear that country. We're in the Cold War with this. We're in the economic battle with this, trying to live up to the Joneses. In the grand scheme of things, we're still a baby country. You got countries like China that have been around for thousands of years. Again, in the grander scheme of things, we're still a baby. I would say maybe teenager country compared to other ones. But one thing they say about big giants, if you grow too fast and you don't have a foundation, that's like a house, or a skyscraper. You can't keep building straight up, and the foundation isn't there to allow you to keep building up. Our foundation is rocky. Our foundation was rocky from the very beginning of when folks came over and landed on this country, on this land that was taken from the Native Americans, and they never lived up to the treaty that they made with these people. And they brought over enslaved people. They still never really fully liberated them at all. They never gave women all of their full rights, because it's really on a limited time basis. Until you get all of that stuff straight foundationally, it's going to crumble from within. And that's exactly how many other great countries have failed in the past.
And it starts with voting rights. It goes right to voting rights. You have to continuously renew an act, Voting Rights Act, for Black people to continue to vote freely in America. What sense does that make? An act.
And it's not just voting rights for Black folks. It's voting rights for Black folks because we have always led in holding this country accountable for what it wrote in its Constitution and Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
We've been that demographic that has taken the hits. And I do believe that more Asian Americans, more immigrants recognize that if it was not for what African Americans did, we would not be here. Because how many people know that there was a 1964 immigration law based created through the civil rights movement that allowed more Black and brown people
Yeah.
to come to this country. And we say Black or brown, I'm generalizing because that also includes Asian Americans, folks from Africa, South America, etc. All of these people that you see that are trying to leave where they are because they're suffering, the immigrants, the asylum seekers, is because of that 1964 immigration law that came out of the civil rights movement. Because they recognize that we all seek the American dream. And African Americans were that one demographic that literally was put in our Constitution, has 3/5 of a human. And as Ebony said, the foundation is
Right.
shaky.
Yep.
If you did not recognize the humanity of all who stood on this land, you've created a foundation that is shaky. And global history shows, and America has been an empire, but global history shows that every 400 to 500 years, empires fail. And if you look at American history, there are 2 years we need to look at: 1619, and we already passed that 400-year mark because 400 plus 1619 is 2019. But the other date is 1526, which in 2026 will be 500 years. And this is where Georgetown, our hometown, really comes into play on in this. Georgetown is crucial to the American story because in 1526, the first enslaved Africans set foot in Georgetown, South Carolina. And that was the start of the rice plantation culture, agriculture economy that was the foundation for not just making millions within the rice culture, but it was the foundation for Wall Street. It was the foundation for Ivy League schools, the financial foundation. It was the foundation for the industrial age because they created textile mills to take the cotton that was grown by enslaved labor to make the fabric.
Yeah. The
That's how
spinach in
deep
it.
this is.
The
And
That's
spinach in
but
it.
the system came out of Georgetown, South
yeah,
Carolina. So if you don't do what's right in Georgetown, South Carolina, you will never do what's right that needs to be corrected in this country. It comes back home. So that's why we have these conversations. And that's why I keep talking about threads. You cannot cut that thread. When you attempt to cut that thread, which has been attempted by the miseducation of our history, you get what you get. You
you
get
get
this pushback from critical race theory because people don't want to see the truth because they're finding out that their mothers and fathers and their grandparents lied to them their entire lives.
mhm. Yep,
And that's hurtful.
Yeah.
it
Now,
is.
I don't have sympathy because most of the hurtfulness is demonstrated in violence, whether it's emotional, mental, or physical violence. So you ain't going to get a lot of sympathy from me, but I do understand part of where it's coming from. The pain of knowing your parents and grandparents lied to you about American history. And you got to deal with that. Guess what? Black folks been dealing with it from day one. So I ain't got no sympathy for y'all. Y'all
Right.
just catching up.
Well, Marilyn, let's please coordinate and do a show about immigration. This thing really runs deep. And I'm just going to lightly touch on this, and that may give us something to talk about another time. But China is actually going through a very, even though they seem to be on top economically, they're going through some problems right now as a forecast because what it is, China has one of the largest populations on Earth. And those people not only are citizens, but they're working people that pay into their economy, that provide jobs, different things of that nature. So what China's going through now is that all before, to limit the population, they did not want people to have but one child. Then a few years ago, they increased it to 2, and now it's increased to 3. And do you want to know why they've made that increase? It's because the people who are paying into their economy and that are working, they're starting to die off, and women are taking control of their reproductive systems, and they realize that they don't want to have 2 or 3 babies anymore because they're not able to afford it. So they are intentionally either not having any children or only having one because they can't afford it. So what is that? Why is that a problem? In about 5 years, they're going to experience a really
A
huge
crash.
because of population crash. There are less people in their country. So I would like for us to translate that into immigrants that are coming into our country and we need to come together and find a way to vet these folks so that they can become citizens, because the more people who you have working and paying into a system ultimately helps a country grow. It helps with so many different things. And we need to talk about that and getting back to what you were talking about, Miss Marilyn, as it comes down to Georgetown being a place where between Charleston and Georgetown, most of the enslaved people came in through there. I am actually moved into a brand new building for my business, and I'm so very excited about it. And I found out that this building was the original customs building that was built in 1775. And so if any of you who don't really understand what customs building means, is that anything that came into a area from another country as cargo, as property, had to come through customs. So you can use your imagination about what type of property came through that building in order to come into the United States. And there's a lot of history there to talk about.
Thank you for mentioning that. And we do need to talk about immigration. And I'm going to say this quickly, and we need to move on because y'all, I got to get on the road. And I want to talk about the grand reopening of your business, Ebony, before we close. But we do need to talk about immigration. And once again, Sidney Poitier is also another reflection of that, because he was Bahamian, and then they moved when he was 14 to Miami. But the reason I want to mention that is when I speak about the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce and I talk about how we are a global community, you just follow the transatlantic slave route. And we just had a conversation earlier this week with someone who was speaking on the accents, and they kept hearing the islands in our accents. And I said, because we're Gullah. I said, we're all cousins. And it just depends on where the boat stopped. In the transatlantic slave route, they went to the islands, Bahamas, Barbados, Bermuda, all the Caribbean islands to do the sugar plantations. Then they came to North America. But actually, more enslaved Africans went to South America. So our community is global. We are a global community. And look at the impact. We lost a cousin this week, y'all. We lost a family member this week. And that's how important it is that we need to understand immigration. So, Ebony, I'm glad you brought that up. And we need to have a show about immigration in the future because it's huge. It's very huge. Marvin had to take a phone call because I could hear it ringing, so I took him off the screen. He wanted to talk about redistricting and how important it is to get into that. But while we're waiting on Marvin, Ebony, let's talk about your grand reopening and what we need to know so we can come and support you. You know, Gotta Get Your Chamber of Commerce is going to be there. And while you talk, I'm going to try to bring up some pictures too, because I've shared your signage. Love those pictures, by the way.
Thank you so much, Miss Marilyn. I am so excited because I am moving into a bigger space with my insurance agency called Access Alliance Insurance Group. And there we specialize in health insurance, which includes Medicare, life insurance, health insurance, and annuities. And I'm so very blessed that our team is growing. And that meant that we had to grow into a different space. I'm so very appreciative of our partnership that we had with the United Way, that we were able to be in that building with them, and they helped facilitate our business so that we could grow into where we're going to now. So on January the 12th at 12 o'clock, we're going to be having a ribbon cutting ceremony where the Gullah Geechee Chamber will be there, and our staff. And you'll be able to come in afterwards and tour the building for our open house, and we'll have some food there and everything. And that way you can see what we're doing, because what I'm also doing is what's called flex space, to also be an incubator for other businesses that need office space so that they can come in and have Wi-Fi, access to copy, access to a really nice setting that you can bring your clients in to meet with them at whatever time. So I'm really excited about that. Please come out if you can, and just drop by if you would like.
All right, I was going to your Facebook page so we could look at pictures.
Yay!
Because you've been telling the story as you've been working on your moving in.
Yes, go up to the top, Miss Marilyn, where it says events. Keep going. Hold on. It doesn't see events where it says
Hold on,
more.
I'm going because we're coming out of my page. Grand reopening ribbon cutting.
Yes, the first one.
There we go.
And I'm so excited because we've got signage that's about to go up.
There we go.
Yup. And
yeah, I wanted to go to your page. So there we go.
Yes.
Right.
So we've got signs that have gone up, and we had to do a lot of work in there. The space that we're in, I don't think have been occupied in 3 or 4 years. So we have taken and really are transforming this space so it's nice. And you're seeing the pictures of how it looked in the beginning, but you'll be so very surprised at what we have done and what we're doing in the building. So I really want everybody to see that and to just come by and also see what services and products we offer, because not only do we offer health insurance. Thank you, Brandon. I look forward to seeing you there. We do offer social services. Okay, so we're able to help people with Medicaid and food stamps and getting help with other expenses that they have. We have local partnerships like with United Way and Waccamaw EOC. So if people need help with roof repairs and things of that nature, we can connect you with those resources or other people that you know that may need those different things. So I'm really proud and excited about that. And thank you, everyone who has supported me. I don't even want to start naming any names because I will leave somebody off, because it does take a team for all of this to happen, and a great staff to go along with it.
Well, I'm excited about it. I had a chance. Ebony took me through the facility, looking at it as she was working on it. And I look forward, Ebony, to seeing the completed, everything with the signage and everything. I'm so excited. I'm excited to see a Black female moving forward in business, especially because we live in a small town and we need to see success stories. And I know you're still growing. That's the wonderful thing about it. The opportunities are just vast. And so congratulations. Ebony's going to join me on a gathering place tomorrow at 4, and we're just going to focus on her. So we'll talk more in depth about it and her journey. But y'all just come on out on Wednesday, January 12th at 12 noon. We're going to do a ribbon cutting and just really going to see the work that she's done and what she's doing for the community with the flex space. So y'all need to check into that flex space so we can help other entrepreneurs grow. The Gullah Geechee Chamber, we definitely support that. The NAACP supports it also. So Ebony, thank you very much. So let me bring Marvin back in. And I don't know what's going on here. I got some stuff going on. But so Marvin, you came back just in time to talk about redistricting. We did tell everybody about Ebony's grand reopening. So give us an update on redistricting and what we need to do, because I got to get on the road, but because we got some upcoming Martin Luther King events we need to talk about. And but what about redistricting that we need to know and how we need to get engaged?
Well, the key is, Maryland, that redistricting is going to happen. It happens every 10 years. It's happening right now in Georgetown, the process through county council. You know, the NAACP have submitted some viable maps that bring reapportionment back in line and also keep the districts intact that we have right now, or 3 districts. You know, there are some concerns about, well, you know, so low to the 50s and stuff of that nature, but we're not caught up into that. We're caught up in reapportionment and fairness of the map, that every voter has a right to choose an elected official of their choice. We're not getting into packing and cracking and all this other stuff that happens with redistricting and elected officials trying to juggle one way or the other what's going to support them in that election. You know what I'm saying? We're about making sure that Black people and people of color have the opportunity to elect someone of their choice freely. Okay, so and redistricting is critical because what's going to happen next after this redistricting approval of county council, which will happen either the first meeting in March or the 28th of this month in January, the approval, then there'll be some other adjustment from there. But come April, when the filing of these other offices come open, some people are going to find themselves in a whole nother precinct that they didn't know they were in, okay, until time for the June primary when they show up and say, no, you have to go to this precinct. That's where you are now. So all these things going to play a major role in how we look in this process. And the more people get involved, they'll understand where they are in the process. They might be in District 3 this time. It might be in District 5 the next time. Might be in District 2. Might be in District 1. Some of the candidates might be in different districts. And they need to know what's going to happen to them in this process. If they have another 2 years to serve, what happens with them? Because they could be moved to another district. That's why they need to get involved. So, and there will be an open public meeting so the community could voice their concerns on what they feel. And if they need information, contact the NAACP because we'll put the information online. They need to come and speak at these public hearings and voice their concern. Each citizen has a right to voice their concern. We always ask for them to be respectful. And I know that's what county council asks also, but yet still the final decision will be county council. So contact your elected officials and let them know, hey, and ask the question, where am I in this process? Where is the process? And when is the meeting? That is important. As soon as we get those dates, we're going to put it out to you all. Bottom line, the NAACP asked the state stenographer, we paid someone to drop the map to be fair to each one of these districts. So you could come out and say, hey, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. County council had someone that drew map for them also. You could bring your map if you want to. That's your right as a citizen. Submit it to county council. They could show it or they could not show it. That's between you and them. But that's what we're dealing with. So it's going to play a major role in what happens with the future of Georgetown and even the comprehensive plan. All that's going to play a role. Because you're dealing with from culture to community lookalikes and everything else that's involved. You're dealing with economic differences like income, home ownership, rental, educational levels, social and cultural factors. That's what you're dealing with redistricting. Boundaries, how do you abut this boundary and what happens and stuff if you were to cross over? Waterways. So please come out, because communication has to happen in order for it to be effective.
And we're going to keep everybody up to date on what's going on with redistricting when you need to show up. Definitely county council meetings. They're posted on our Facebook page, the dates. We need to hear from you. When they have redistricting meetings, we'll let everybody know, not just the NAACP. We share it across multiple Facebook pages and groups. We also talk to people. We make phone calls. So if you need to know, reach out to us. I'm not going to say our website page because I'm not in charge of that. So Ebony, do we kind of need to get this stuff posted on our webpage? But just definitely our Facebook page and everything.
But also, yeah. Marilyn, 2 critical meetings coming up. All meetings, 2 critical meetings for redistricting is Tuesday of this week at 5:30. They need to be at county council, and also the 28th of this month. They need to be at county council. Okay, make sure you are there. 2nd and 4th Tuesday of each month at county council. There's some critical things happening with your county right now, and you need to be in the know.
That's right. That's right. So other things we need to know about is upcoming is Martin Luther King Jr. His official birthday's coming up, and we usually try to post what's going on. So if you have a Martin Luther King Jr. event coming up in Georgetown and beyond, send it to us so we can let you know what's going on. And we have a couple of save the date for the state NAACP conference on Martin Luther King Day. This is going to be virtual, so save the date and then you can sign up. Go to the state NAACP scnwcp.org website and go ahead and get signed up for our Martin Luther King Day. And then we have come up in Andrews Martin Luther King Jr. Day on Monday at 12 noon, March to the Martin Luther King Monument from Town Hall starting at 12 noon on Monday, January 17th. And the speaker that day will be Minister Jackie Williams. You see her on our show. She's our communications chair for the NAACP. She will be the dynamic speaker and community leader that day. So come on out on in Andrews at 12 noon, Monday, January 17th. And once again, if you know of any service projects, any events happening on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, let us know and we'll help you get the word out. And I know the parade is happening. I think the parade is happening that day, but I don't know the details yet. So I'm not going to mess anything up by sharing it. I don't know if you know anything, Marvin, about the parade that day. But as soon as we get the details, we will
we'll
share
post it.
that with everyone. Of course, you know we do this show every Saturday at 11 a.m. Marvin, I think we hit everything today on
Yep.
our show. More than when we get into these conversations, I wish sometimes we could sit for hours at a time and just talk and bring in
Huge.
our studio audience to share with us and everything. But we run out of time. But there are two people I do want to recognize because we lost another civil rights giant this week. Also, Lonnie Guinier, law professor. And if any of you know history, she was nominated by President Bill Clinton to head the Civil Rights Division in the Department of Justice, DOJ, but her nomination was foiled by some false information. Plus the fact, I'm not going to get into it too much. Bill Clinton didn't stand by like her like he should have. But we lost her this week. She, at the age of 71, she was a Harvard law professor, the first tenured Harvard law professor in history of that university. And we want to salute her also. She was a legal civil rights giant. A legal civil rights giant. And Richard, thank you for letting us know there's going to be a PD cleanup on that day. If you could send me some details about that, I certainly would appreciate it. I do understand I've been reached out by Coastal Carolina University um, looking for a service project for some students. So if you send Marvin or myself some details about that PD cleanup, we certainly want to share that with them and see if we could get some more volunteers out there. I want to close with Sidney Poitier again because, Lord, this was a good-looking black man here. And on a personal note, I want to say this is someone my mama and I together crushed on. This is one of my first crushes, y'all. I mean, Sidney Poitier. That's a good-looking man. Here, he was a good-looking black man.
You said the same
So,
thing about Urkel, Marilyn.
but who?
Urkel.
Oh no, now don't insult my Sidney Poitier now. Don't play. But he was, y'all. I mean,
Yeah,
what a life well lived
he's
for
a strong
Lonnie
man.
Guinier and Sidney Poitier. What a life well lived for Sidney Poitier. This, y'all, the thread is bigger than we, you know, understand. And this is why we have to talk about history, the full story of our country's history. Because it really, when you hear that full story, when you learn that full story, it's beautiful. It really is. In all the nuances and complexities of who we are as a country, there is great beauty. And in the joys and in the sorrows, in the wrong decisions and in the best decisions of this country, and the ideals that we wrote down on paper to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. You know, it really is. And that's what we've always worked for. Even when we meet on Spotlight, we're part of that thread, working for the best of this country. And unfortunately, many times we don't live up to the best in this country. And but we keep going. And
But you know
that's
what,
what,
Marilyn?
that's the goal. Go
But
ahead,
you know
Marvin.
what, Marilyn, Emily hit on some things. We talked about the foundation and stuff. Until you could understand the ingredients of what happened in this country and how things really happen, your foundation will always be weak. Okay, and that's where we are right now and stuff. Our strong nation is getting weaker. Democracy is doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying? It's because the whole story have not been told, and what we are trying to do is tear down something that needs to be built up, which is democracy. You know, you have John Lewis, Dr. King, Desmond Tutu, you know, Nelson Mandela, all these great people, you know what I'm saying, that just died. You know, JFK, all these people just died just so people could have not only a free life, but equality and equity and balance. You know, we'll be fine. America can and is still the strongest country, but we have to recognize that when we are together, not when we are separate, because that's when people penetrate and infiltrate. If the military run in the battlefield the way the U.S. Congress is running right now, we'll lose every war. We'd be in trouble. We'd be a communist country right now. And some of them are trying to take us back to communist ways when it comes down to that Republican Party. You know that green lady and this other clown they got out there, man, it's just pathetic. You know what they're trying to do. Say anything. No respect to anyone. Speak to people of color and stuff as though they don't exist. You know, especially Ortez. She just gets pure hell from these people. But you know what? She gonna handle it. She will handle it. She's not perfect, but she have a right. Everyone does.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I want to thank you, Marvin, for saying those words. We're going to get on the road. I got 4 hours ahead of me, and it's been an eventful week. It continues to be an eventful week. As you were speaking, I was looking for a Zora Neale Hurston quote, and I couldn't find it again. But you know, but I'm going to get it for next week because it's very meaningful and very powerful. We want to thank our viewing audience, and I also want to thank the Comfort Hen here in Brunswick, Georgia. I stayed here this week, and want to thank them for allowing me to sit in their lobby and do our show. And of course, I have to make this disclaimer that the words spoken by our host and guest are not necessarily the words of Comfort Inn. Just to make sure. But thanks everybody for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And we'll see you on the other side. Marvin, have a good one.
Hey, keep hope alive. We're stronger together. We're made for more. We must tell our story. God
All
bless
right. Good night, everybody. We'll see you on the other side.
you. Bye-bye. Thank you, brother.
You're welcome.